Okay, class, let's take a look. So we are in the verse number 172. Again, I wish to remind you all, we are in the sixth pyramid, which is the Prajna pyramid. Okay, if we compare Mahayana, the great vehicle and the three vehicle, the Prajna pyramid in the great vehicle is, you can say it's more complicated than the three vehicle. Remember, so we are still discussing about the emptiness. Okay, so in the previous lessons, we talk, the verses we go through is knowing there is no I, okay, or mind, is dissociating from everything, internal, external, extinguishing all discrimination. One is in accord with the reality. So meaning to say that you are knowing there's no I or mind, there should be without any ignorance, then dissociating from everything, internal, external, extinguishing all discrimination. Remember that all the words are discrimination, confusions, all this just make us more confused. All just mean what? Just mean the anicca. No, it's just mean ignorance or something like that. So always remember, don't be confused by all this terminology, because it is classical Chinese. But I think classical Chinese is really translated from the Sanskrit. So originally, the Sanskrit really they use all this discrimination, all this type of words. Okay, then a few points just to remember. Okay, when all discrimination is extinguished, the faultless prajna will appear. Okay, so remember, this is the perception of the Mahayana. Discrimination like avijja, like the ignorance gone, then your prajna will unfold. Okay. Then again, let's take a look. You see, then a few words. It means same thing, emptiness. Dhammata, dhammadhatu, buddhadatta. Okay, this is a true suchness, the real thing. So remember, if you go to the chanting, especially for Sally Elena, so we chant about Kong Xing, Hui, Zhi, all is the same thing only. Okay, but maybe for you it's the same, all are nothing. You don't understand also all or nothing. Even though people understand, also confused. So it is good for you to understand, because you don't understand is the best. You're not confused, meaning to say, we all confused, wow, what is it about? Because the author for the chanting, they are quite expertise in Buddhism actually. I think I take another 10 years or maybe I haven't reached that standard. The way I see it, wow, the standard is very high. Okay, next, let's take a look. So we go to the next verse. Okay, Elena, your turn to read, please. Since the realization.
Since the realizations of followers of the two vehicles and of Buddha and Bodhisattvas are the same in terms of the non-existence of the self and the non-existence of things, what is the difference between the two vehicles and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? Both of the two vehicles realize the nature of non-discrimination, as described in the chapter on the 10 grounds in Avatamsaka Sutra. The Prajna Paramita treatise also says, the severing of defilements and the wisdom that comes from the two vehicles are similar to the Bodhisattva's realization of non-arising of things. However, Bodhisattvas have Bodhi mind and great compassion, transfer their virtues to benefit others, and extensively save sentient beings through the power of their own vows. How can this not differ from the two vehicles? Thus, the Mahayana and the Hinayana differ in terms of vows and practices, but not in terms of wisdom. Although the followers of the human and divine vehicles are said to have realized the same non-discriminating nature of things, there are still some differences. Sravakas do not relate to anything as I or mine, and they have eliminated the barrier of afflictions. Through the wisdom of the emptiness of the self and things, Bodhisattvas not only realize the non-discriminating nature of things and eliminate afflictions, they are also able to practice profoundly and realize the emptiness of things apart from all meaningless elaboration and eradicate all residual habits. Practicing the purely formless deeds, bodhisattvas completely and perfectly realize the purest realm of things and become Buddhas. Can the two vehicles match this?
Okay, thank you so much. Let's take a look to the topics of contemplating the non-existence of I and mind to attain direct realization. So we are always mentioning the non-existence of I and mind. Okay, again, class, remember meaningless elaboration mean the discrimination. Okay, so remember put inside to the one category this type of words. Class, remember, please avoid using all this during the conversations, get confused people. Okay, so class, for these two paragraphs, one point mentioned is about the wisdom. Basically, the wisdom which is attained by the Sravaka and Bodhisattva, they are almost the same only. The only difference is the vow of the Bodhisattva. Because a Bodhisattva aiming to, help all the living beings. But for Sravaka, no, maybe just until you reach to the first stage of Arahant. That's all only. Okay, so that is the difference. Okay, but one thing I have to remind you all. Sally, Elena, since you are in the Mahayana, Mr. Leong, please on your camera. Do you have the perception that, generally, once you go to the Buddhist temple, Mahayana, they do the chanting. Do you have the perception that it seems like the Mahayanis will despise the Theravada and always think that, oh, they are Hinayana, something like that, meaning to say they don't really make a great vow, they are so inferior, something like that. Do you have this type of feeling? You don't feel it. Mr. Leong, do you feel that? On the mic, please, Mr. Leong, do you feel that?
It's just the two different practices or because of the different school of thoughts.
No, what I mean is if you feel that in the temple, in the Mahayana Buddhist Association, it is quite normal. Why? The reason is there's a few sutra. The Bodhisattva really blame the Sravaka. Why? Because the Bodhisattva, once they make vow, the 3 kappas or innumerable kappa will help the living being. But for you as a Stravaka, you just maybe you just help the living being so little when you compare with the Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva in the Mahayana Sutra, they really blame them and also really criticize them. But one thing is, the Bodhisattva, they are qualified to say so. Why? Because the Bodhisattva, which blame the Arahant, the Stravaka, they have the ability to attain to the Nibbana just very simply. Once you flip one coin, and once the coin come down, they can attain already. Meaning to say, they are able to attain, but they don't want to attain. They are willing to bear some suffering just to help out all the living beings. You see, if let's say, you see, Elena, let's say you are the Bodhisattva, okay? Just one clips only, you can become the Nibbana, okay? But you don't want. But say, just so rush, oh, I want to go to the Nibbana, so I don't bother all the living beings. But I mean, the wisdom is quite about the same. So, meaning to say, it's just a while different. Elena, do you think that in your position, of course, you can blame the Arahant, am I right? Or because you also can attain to Nibbana so easy only, but you don't want. You see or not? So meaning to say that the text, the Bodhisattva is in this situation, their level is very high. But once the normal people, they read this, they imitate the Bodhisattva and try to blame. They blame who? They blame all the Theravada. Number one, you are not the position as similar as the Bodhisattva that high, right? No, we in jhana we don't have, you see. So number one. Second, the Stravaka doesn't really mean the Theravada or this. So actually there is a 2 misconception here, you see. So anyway, basically I will try to remind all the Mahayanist devotee. Number one, remember, don't imitate the Bodhisattva in the sutra, in the text, because the level is very high. We are not at that high. And second, secondly, don't go to the blame to the Theravada, because the Theravada is not exactly, it's not totally equal with the Stravaka mentioned in the text actually. Not 100% totally, you see. So that's why some Mahayanist devotee, when they see Theravada, say, oh, the Hinayana is coming. Oh, the inferior vehicle is coming. Oh, they have this perception because the influence is from the sutra, and the sutra is prevailing about 1,000 to 500 years ago. I mean, since 1,500 years ago, it's not prevailing already. It's influenced the whole Chinese Buddhism, and Malaysia partially is influenced from the Chinese Buddhism. So it is quite normal. So that's why I say, if you feel this, this perception, you get this perception is normal, because the sutra have been translated more than 1,600 years ago. It's very influential. So you get it, okay? But you don't feel so never mind, just remind you so next time when you met people, you have to tell them, oh, this is the thing, why you have this type of perception. Yeah, Mr. Leung, want to add something? Yes.
See, for what you say about the Bodhisattva is followers of this Mahayana school, what you call things that Theravada is not up to level or standard, and this talking bad about this Hinayana is actually a very heinous crime of elitism.
No. What I mean is, okay, it's not very clear. Mr. Leung, can you please repeat? The Wi-Fi is quite bad.
What I'm trying to say is, Mahayana will try to split the Mahayana and the Hinayana away from the true Buddhism, because they are talking in terms of Bodhisattva. And if they unknowingly or knowingly despise or discriminate the Hinayana side, then it is actually splitting the Sangha or the Buddhism.
Oh, okay. the way, okay, I don't know whether I can truly understand you, what you say or not, because breaking a little bit. But the way I see it, because, okay, that's why I try to put you in that position. Because the Bodhisattva just want to blame, just to encourage them, you should aim for Bodhisattva to help more people. Because this Bodhisattva have the level quite about the same with the Sravaka. So they are qualified to say so. You mean what I mean? You mean or not? It's just like what I said, Elena, you are the, okay, Mr. Leung, you are the millionaire. I am the millionaire. We are the same, the millionaire. Okay, I donate half of my asset to the society, but you just donate maybe just $100 only. So since you are a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, and I know you very well, maybe just out of the compassion, I want you to have more merit. So I blame you. Why you be so stingy? For me, I'm willing to donate half of my asset, but you just donate $100. You are a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. Just something like that, you know what or not? So that's why this is the situation in the Mahayana text, why they say so, you see. But now the problem is the one who read it misinterpret it and misuse it. That's why I try to clarify. We have to tell people this is the real situation, you see. You have to understand you are not the Bodhisattva in the text. And the Sravaka is not equivalent to the Theravada actually. So that's why I mean clarification is necessary once we know that. So I tell you all, especially this appeared in all the Vimalakirti Sutra, all this you can see the Bodhisattva blaming the Sravaka. Okay. But of course, some they suggest that in the first century, actually, who blames who is the layman, the layman, the status, is changing along to the Buddhism, After Buddha Parinibbana and between 0 years, in between this period, basically monk is dominant and is more prevalent, you see, compared with the layman. But once you go to the Mahayana, actually layman is more dominant than the monk, because from Bodhisattva we are able to see. Okay, Elena, you try to figure out 4 Bodhisattva. Who are the laymen? Who are the monk? The 4 great Bodhisattva, as you know. Elena. Okay, Manjushri is the layman or a monk? Elena, Manjushri. On the mic, Elena, Manjushri.
Manjushri, layman.
Yeah, got hair, right? How about Guan Yin?
Also layman.
Hair. How about how about Puxian Pusa? No, some Buddha got hair, right? Also long hair, right? Yeah, Puxian Pusa, long hair. The white elephant also is a layman. How about the Dizang Pusa? Dizang Pusa got hair or not? What the heck? So you see, so meaning to say. Yeah, so we need to say that during to the Mahayana, actually laymen they play major roles than the monk actually. That's what we see. This is, if you try to interpret the sutra in some cultural perspective, it looks interesting, right? If you interpret this way, you found that it really, how come we didn't discover that? So this is how the scholar they try to interpret in a different way. You can get some clues. See or not? Okay. So this is something interesting to discuss. Okay. So we go further. Let's take a look. Okay, you see, that's what you say. Sravaka do not relate to anything as I or mine, and they have eliminated the barrier of affliction. That's true. Okay. But Bodhisattva are able to practice profoundly and realize the emptiness of things. You see, things appear again. So remember what's the things, once you analyze the mentality and the materiality to the most subtle part, so we call it as the things. I don't like the translation. Very confusing. Okay. All right, then depart from all meaningless elaboration. Okay, we mentioned that already. So now we go to this, correctly understanding non-discrimination to attain direct realization. Okay, yes, Sally, your turn to read.
Real non-discrimination should not lead to erroneous schemes. The meditation on the mean is to be done without the discrimination of inherent nature. Directly realized prajna is called non-discriminating wisdom, and the nature of things that is realized is called the non-discriminating nature of things. The sutra often says that during the cultivation of prajna, one should not reflect on it, should not grasp, and should not discriminate. How is it that anyone aside from those who are really enlightened can practice contemplation, discrimination, selection, and reflection in order to cultivate prajna without being reflective, grasping, and discriminating? No wonder some Buddhist practitioners persuade others not to think of anything and to experience directly. No wonder some people assume that non-discriminating concentration without investigation is the realization of profound non-discriminating wisdom. Thus, whether the realization of non-discriminating wisdom or the non-discriminating contemplative wisdom is the subject at hand. The real meaning of non-discrimination should be skillfully and correctly understood. One should not mistakenly fall into the erroneous schemes of non-Buddhists who are confused about the right contemplation taught by the Buddha. Non-discrimination has many different meanings. For example, wood and rock do not discriminate. But of course, this is not the type of non-discrimination taught by the Buddha Dharma. Thoughtless concentration, having neither the activities of the mind nor its attributes, is also non-discriminating, but is a non-Buddhist. Naturally occurring inattention is also called non-discrimination, but this also cannot be said to be non-discriminating wisdom, for it is achieved without effort and without attention. The same goes for the five faulty consciousness, stupor, unconsciousness, and so forth.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Elena, can you please continue read the other two paragraphs for better information, for better explanation, please.
Non-discrimination has many different meanings. For example, wood and rock do not discriminate. But of course, this is not the type of non-discriminate. I think it's read already. Yeah. Sorry, next paragraph. In addition, in the second jhana and above, there is neither reflection nor investigation.
No. This paragraph is correct. We haven't finished yet. Please.
Oh.
Before I finish already.
Oh, you finished already?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yes. I'm dreaming. Sorry. Please continue.
In addition, in the second jhana and above, there is neither reflection nor investigation. This kind of non-discrimination without reflection or investigation is common to the second jhana and above, but it is different from non-discriminating wisdom. If then the wisdom of non-discrimination is achieved not through inattentiveness, not through reflecting, and not through differentiating between thoughts, how is it achieved? To practice non-discriminating meditation on the mean, one must have right contemplation and be without discriminating of inherent nature. Knowing that the discrimination of inherent nature is unattainable, one directly realizes the non-discriminating nature of things. Discrimination of inherent nature is attachment to meaningless elaborations that are unreal but seems to possess an inherent nature, as was stated above. The existence of inherent nature is the focus for the attachment to I and mine. If the discrimination of inherent nature arises, one is unable to understand the emptiness of self and things or disassociate from the attachment to I and mine. So one must discriminate, investigate, and come to the decision that the existence of inherent nature is unattainable. Only when there is no trace of such existence can one disassociate completely from it. Doing so is a contemplation of emptiness, the discrimination of which is without inherent nature. Discrimination is not necessarily the discrimination.
Oh, okay, Elena, sorry, can you please stop a little bit? Okay. Information is enough to explain already. Okay, class, let's take a look. Let me try to define the non-discriminations. Class, take a look. This is the diagram. This is the Nibbana. Okay. So at the bottom is the Sila, and then is the Samadhi. Then from Samadhi, between to the Nibbana, so this is all is the what? The knowledge, you see, is coming, I mean, it's begin from the knowledge of comprehensions until to the knowledge of the path. We all conclude it as vipassana, meaning to say that once we do vipassana, we are trying to contemplate our mentality and materiality to the subtle form and start to observe the rise and fall, rise and fall. Once we talk about the non-discrimination, non-discrimination actually is somewhere here, actually, class. It's somewhere here. It's quite near to the Nibbana. Okay, why the author have to mention this? Because in Chinese Buddhism, they have a tendency to confuse between the non-discrimination with different contexts, with other circumstances. Okay, a non-discrimination in Chinese, we used to say 不要分别, or in Cantonese, 冇分別. Have you ever heard about that? Heard about that, right? But these words is always confused in between a few things. Basically, they misuse the words. Okay, it misuse in certain things. For example, like Elena, okay, once you try to pray, okay, maybe you bring the fruits, okay, so you see you just bring one set of the fruits. So you see there's a Buddha and there's a Bodhisattva. So you think, oh, since I just only have one set of the fruit, so I offer to the Buddha. I don't offer to the Bodhisattva. So sometimes the other Dharma brother and sister will say, oh, 你有分別心, or sometimes they will say so. You will think, it seems logic, but it also seems doesn't make sense also, you see. Then secondly, maybe one day a beggar come, okay, so you say, oh, there's a beggar, so better we don't allow them to come into the Buddhist, to the temple, because they will make things dirty, you see. So the Dharma brother sister will say it again, oh, 你不应该分别. So you think it seems correct, but also it seems doesn't not correct. Am I right? So this is sometimes it seems that you can't differentiate good or bad. Once you start differentiate, just wrong already. It's considered 分别心 already. No, actually it's wrong already. It's misconception. Of course, you are able to see what is good and bad. If you are unable to tell good and bad, that's quite worse already. There's a wrong way actually. So you must be able to tell it. So this is number one, the misconception. Second, the most symbolic for the non-discrimination is the wood and the rock, because they are not the living being. So of course they don't have the mind, so they are unable to discriminate. So it's a number one. Okay. Second, once we talk about the non-discrimination, it involves in the second jhanas and above. Why? Because the first jhana, we already abandoned the vitaka. So vitaka play roles in 分别, discriminating. Okay, so people that, oh, second jhana above, they are non-discriminating. This is wrong again. So what is the correct? Actually, the correct non-discriminating is just now I show in the Bhagavata, it's about quite near to the quite near to the Nibbana. That is the non-discrimination. It is a quite high level of wisdom which will unfold once, all your ignorance are about to be cleared up. Okay, do you get it? Okay, so I think this is common only, it happens only in the Chinese Mahayana Temple or Buddhist Association. It never happened in Theravada. So I think Mr. Leong, but maybe Mr. Leong, Mr. Leong, Have you ever encountered this type of confusion or not? Whatever you just try to think about it, they will say, oh, 你不要分别. When you start thinking, they say, oh, 你不要分别. So I shouldn't think, it means, does it mean I shouldn't think? Have you ever experienced that, Mr. Liao?
Yes, sometimes, yes.
Okay, so that's why, okay. So Elena and Sally, you feel quite common, right? They always used to say that. Sally got it. So that's why the author in this paragraph specifically to emphasize the misconception of the discrimination is in this situation. Okay, get it? Okay. So how to clarify is quite hard. I think only monk can clarify. Why? Because sometimes my senior or the senior monk, they begin with the Mahayana text and they use this type of terminologies already. Meaningless elaboration, non-discrimination, and they try to make full use of it. And they and they use it in the frequent and down to the earth basic until misperception. So people are very confused already. Okay, so you get it. I don't know what to do. The only thing I can do is I try to clarify in my class. So make sure that you won't be confused in 30. That's all on me. If you are in the Theravada, you never heard about nonsense, elaboration, all these things will happen. It's quite a Sanskrit text. See? Okay. So I get it. So this is how, okay, we will try to digest all the paragraph just to show this, you see. Now you see a few things is the non-discrimination, you see, thoughtless concentration, you see. Okay, Mr. Leong, remember the thoughtless concentration, thoughtless means what? Actually is remove the vitaka, okay? Once I want to talk to Mr. Leong, he just disappeared already. I just like talk to nobody. So that's why I make it compulsory. You must on the camera. I don't know how the teacher in the school can teach if all the students just off the camera. There's some teacher claim that once they force them to on the camera, some is in the toilet, some is eating the tidbits, some is sleeping. They just put a toy there only. So many things, you see. So this is why the education ministry have to force all the students go to the school, and some even claim that their paper qualification will be worthless during this MCO because no quality. So Elena, next time you try to employ some staff during this time graduation, you have to retest them. I want to make sure, do you on the camera during the class or not? Or you just put a toy there to confuse the teacher. You really not. Okay, again, you see a second jhana and above there is neither reflection nor investigation. Okay, class. Okay, this is also very confusing. Reflections means the vitaka. Investigation means the vichara. Can you write down? This is Sanskrit text. Vitaka, vichara. Elena, am I right? You shouldn't use the Cambridge English dictionary to interpret. Am I right? Shouldn't use. So remember, you have to put set aside the Oxford Cambridge English dictionary, please. Okay, just forget about the English what you learned before. But after you pick up all this term, I don't know who you can talk to. You can only talk to Among, Elena, and Sally only. If you talk to Theravada, they don't know what you're talking about. Am I right? Then you don't know Mandarin. You just can talk English with all this type of terminology. So you can hope that Amanda and Yong Sing, they all can smoothly study until to the great vehicle. Then you can talk to more people about this type of reflection, investigation. Nonsense elaboration. They are the one. They are all your hope. You can talk to them only. Okay. Never mind, class. Never mind. Once we go through the Abhidhamma, I think I prefer use the Abhidhamma because once you pick up the Abhidhamma words, you can use it in a more broad basic. More people know the words better than this type of terminologies. Okay. Okay, again, to practice non-discriminating meditation on the mean, one must have right contemplation and be without discrimination of inherent nature. Okay, so inherent nature. So I presume I understand inherent nature means the things, okay, exist without condition. That is the inherent nature, or we call it as what are the entities, something like that. Okay. One thing is I think the author tried to hint that sometimes the meditation in Mahayana, especially the Zen, they will use to talk about 不要分别. Because for the Zen, Chinese Zen, they try to put their heart in the method, like what Mr. Long mentioned in Huatou or in the story, you know. So they put their heart and they let the skeptical keep on arise. Once the yiqing, the skepticism, also don't use Oxford English dictionary to understand. Or once, the skeptical become thicker and thicker, then suddenly it bursts out, then you'll be enlightened. So in this tradition, they also keep on mentioning, please don't discriminate. Once you discriminate, once you try to analyze, once you try to think, you are not in the method already. That's why in Zen, they always come up with something very awkward one, you know. Because if you met the Zen master, I'm quite frightening to talk to the Zen master. If you ask them, where is the toilet? They will answer, it is in your heart. So it is in my heart. I want to go to the toilet. Why is it in my heart? They will answer in this way, you know. So sometimes you say, where is this the Shakyamuni? They will answer that it is a woman. Woman? But this is a Zen way, you know. So meaning to say that you cannot use a common sense to interpret, because sometimes what the sentence, it doesn't mean that, you know. So that's why if you're able to meet a good teacher, sometimes they will throw the broom to you, they will smash you just to make you enlightened. So you have to fully trust them and you have to understand. So you cannot use the common sense. As long as you start to think, or we call it discrimination, 分别, you are out already. Or you are out already. So that's why this is the Zen way. I think Elena wouldn't go. It looks horrible for you already. Yeah, it will chase you. No, because some Zen master, they really go to chop the Buddha statue, which is make of the wood to burn, you know. But for them, you have to think out of the box. They won't have the karma because they are able to penetrate through the nature already, you know. They're enlightened already. So they will chop the Buddha statue and burn it, you know. Very extreme situation, just only available in Chinese Zen school. Mr. Long heard about, right? You heard about that? All this awkward thing, you heard about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, please don't imitate we cannot because we are not the Zen master, or we haven't enlightened, okay, but of course you can play around with the people as long as you answer nonsense. So that's why Zen school is degrading and end up become all nonsense in the later stage. As long as you just answer nonsensely, then they call it, oh, you are learning Zen. So I remember, you know, in Ang Hock Si, during I'm a Spramanera, I also play around sometimes with the people, you know. They also asked me the question. I said, oh, everything is in your heart. So they said, oh, I know, you are learning Zen. I said, no, actually I'm learning nonsense. Just playful with the people. So you see, if let's say the Zen school go to these stages, it's very pitiful already. Meaning to say, the people don't really go to the spirit, to the Zen, just play around all this type of really a nonsense speech only. Okay, get it? Okay, don't play around here, because we are not Zen. Okay. Okay, let me take a look. So we talk about the discrimination. Discrimination of inherent nature is attachment to meaningless elaboration. Yeah, meaningless elaboration also means the non-discrimination. Okay, so one must discriminate, investigate, and come to the decision that the existence of inherent nature is unattainable. Okay, class, discriminate, investigate. Please highlight that they are considered wisdom, the skill of the wisdom. Discriminate, discriminate, and also the investigate. I better search you the Bali terms because you cannot follow the Oxford Dictionary. Buddhist door. To discriminate. Okay, let me see first. Kaya,分别, okay, relate to distinguish, to criticize. To distinguish. Okay. Okay, class, without the discrimination in Sanskrit is avikata. Please copy down. A function of the mind free from making distinction. Oh, very confusing on this one. Between object, okay, between subject object, normally considered to be the superior mode of function. See or not? Superior mode of function of enlightened mind. You see? This is quite good, Class, please try to make full use of this dictionary. This is quite good actually. So the Sanskrit is the avikapa. Okay, avikapa, non-discrimination, please. Avikapa, non-discrimination. You see a superior mode of the function of enlightened mind. This is quite good dictionary. Okay, so kappa. Then let me see. 周遍巡视, 周遍抉择. Okay, then one more word is regards to investigate. 巡. 巡. 寻思哦。Okay, let's take a look. 寻思哈 to seek, inquire, examine, all means the wisdom investigate tarakika then rational investigation which goes deep, but it's not accepted as analysis, you see. So remember, this type of investigation, analysis, all are considered the wisdom. So I think, please write down this, investigate, please put the tarakika, please. This is a Sanskrit word. This is a part of the wisdom. Actually, it's considered, it's categorized under the wisdom. In English, you see, try to translate or examine, inquire, to seek. Okay, so remember this word appeared means the wisdom. Takika. Okay, finish. So let's continue. Now you see, discriminate, investigate, and come to the decision the existence of inherent nature is unattainable. See how. So we go to the next paragraph and keep on confusing ourselves. Yes. Whose turn? Sally or Elena? Discrimination, please.
Discrimination is not necessarily the discrimination of inherent nature, and the discernment and that the discrimination of inherent nature is unattainable. The contemplation of emptiness is not only non-attachment, but is also the tremendously skillful means leading to the realization of indescribable non-discrimination wisdom. That one should not be reflective, should not grasp, and should not discriminate, as the sutra teach, really means that one should not be reflective of the existence of inherent nature, one should not grasp it and should not discriminate it. It does not mean that one should cultivate prajna by not remembering, not thinking, and not discriminating. If all discriminations are attachments, then would the wisdom that comes from listening, thinking, and practicing as taught by Buddha not be distorted? Non-discrimination wisdom could arise without the requisite awakening of wisdom from listening, thinking, and practicing. Then it would arise without a cause. When one contemplates non-discrimination by contemplating that the discrimination of inherent nature is unattainable and is close to the attaining non-discriminating wisdom, however, exerting efforts to discriminate and be selective becomes an obstacle, which is why the sutra says not to be reflective and so forth. This is called being attached to the Dharma, which accords with the way, which is like eating raw or unripened food that gives one's indigestion and causes one to become sick. It can also be compared to shooting an arrow. If one is too nervous and tense, one may not hit the target. Here is another analogy. A long time ago, there is a person who wrote a letter to a person of high status, but fearful of having made a mistake, he sealed and reopened it many times. Finally, out of confusion, he mailed an empty envelope. His blunder became a butt of jokes. Likewise, when one has successfully reached the state of having the contemplative mind, one should not again deliberately discriminate.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, class, let's take a look. Okay, class, remember, just now we highlight again the one more words regards to the wisdom, discernment, analysis, reflective, or is regards to analysis, the wisdom. Why do we say so? Okay, class, for example, you see how once you start to do the vipassana, you must be able to discern the mentality and the materiality. For example, the materiality means the rupa. Okay, rupa, according to the Abhidhamma, it is consists of basically from 4 important elements: earth, water, wind, and air. Okay, so this is the most basic one. Okay, so how do we do? If you really go to join the camp for analysis of all elements, okay, basically they will ask you to observe the characteristic. For example, the earth. Okay, for example, the earth. Okay, class, can you try to rub your teeth to each other? Can you feel it? Okay, yeah, correct. Yeah, Mr. Leung will do correct. So, so the feeling what you observe is considered hard. Okay, so the sensation of heart is throughout the whole body. Can you please find out? Please close your eye now and try to put attention to your forehead. If you're able to feel the heart, as just now you try to perform, you can please prop your head. You can stop now. Mr. Leung got it. Okay, Elena got it. Mrs. Leung got it. So Sally seems lost. Okay, never mind. It means what lah? So just now what you're trying to do, we call it as a discern. Sometimes we say this is analysis. Sometimes we call it as a reflection. So all is the same thing. This is the process, how you understand this a few terminology. Okay. For 4 elements, there's a totally 36 characteristics. If you're able to discern the 36 characteristics, just now the heart is one of it, you are considered finished. I mean the analysis and the discernment of the rupa, of the materiality. So class, do you get it? So meaning to say that in order to achieve the vipassana, you don't begin with the non-discrimination. You have to begin with the discrimination. You must be able to discriminate that. You see, this the whole body. We have a sensation that it seems one entity quite concrete, right? But once you try to discern or try to discriminate all the characteristics throughout the whole body, meaning to say that the perception of the entity will be broken, and you realize that actually this body consists of 36 characteristics. So the perception of I have been reduced. So this is the author trying to say. You see, we don't begin with non-discrimination. We should begin with the discrimination. This is the process we call as the discrimination. But once you are able to reach to this stage of the Bhagoda, you shouldn't discriminate again. Because once you're near to the Nibbana, you just let your wisdom unfold. But if you overwork and discriminate again, then meaning to say you can go further. So this is trying to mention to the whole paragraph. Don't over discriminate. Once you finish your vipassana, you should stop already and let the wisdom unfold. Okay, so this is all the paragraph mentioned here. So let me check. So we finish here. Okay, verse number 174. Okay,